Hello, I'm T with Teresa H Creates, and welcome back to my craft room. I am starting part two of the Alice in Wonderland themed journal cards, and it has only been about 30 minutes since the last video, and I'm still very inky, very dirty. I needed to clean up my space though before we moved on. So in this one, we're actually going to decorate the cards. So these are some that I did previously. I'll show you. And I was playing around with them because I hadn't actually tried this technique in a while. And as I mentioned before, I used to do this on canvas. And so some of the products that I use and some of the steps were just a little bit different for canvas and those particular paints than it was for this one. So I do want to mention some of these that are darker. Number one, it had a darker base. So I used very dark paints in the background. And so when they dried and we were building up, they just lent to a darker tone overall, undertone. Also, in this one, I tried using some acrylic or some of my Delusion sprays, and they are water reactive. So of course, when I went back in to add other layers, like this white here with the bubble wrap, it picked up those colors and dyed them. So there's not as much contrast, so it looks a little bit darker. I also sprayed some of the Dino Wakley acrylic gloss, white gloss, and it also picked up. I did attempt to then go in and actually, I did attempt to then go in and actually use some matte medium to seal the sprays so that they wouldn't bleed through, and it really didn't work. They were still bleeding through. So I decided to switch gears at that point, and I wanted to stick with acrylics, and then I ended up using, on our batch over here, I ended up using re-inkers instead of using the sprays because I could just get a little bit more control over those. I had a little bit more control over those than the sprays and putting those down. But you're definitely welcome to use the sprays. Again, this is all about how you want it to look. So experiment with what you have on hand to get the look that you want. And don't trash it. Don't throw it out. Trust the process and just keep going. You can do a few layers. You can do as many layers as you want with this process. So let's go ahead and start with the next bit. I have my 2 sheets from earlier, and I've got some stencils. I've got some stamps. Here's some stamps and some coordinating dies. I love these guys. All of these Alice themed stamps here. And then this one as well. These are all my tools, things I'm going to be using. I have black gesso. I've got VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I've got a sponge. I've got mint tape. I have scissors. I've got some of my smooch that I like to use. I'll use it until it's gone, and then I don't think I can get it anymore. If you're interested, you could also, if you're something like that kind of, I guess, you could use your Wink of Stella brushes. Those little glitter brushes, those I think would work as well. I don't think they're as concentrated, but they would work as well. I've got gel pens in black and white. And then I have a bit of ephemera, just random ephemera that I grabbed so that we could start decorating. Okay, so one thing I would like to start with, because I know it's going to take some time to dry, is I experimented with knocking back some of these colors. And so I used some of the stencils that I had, and I went over them with black gesso. So there's this stencil here. This was the cards, the suits, the card suits there. And I just went over those with black gesso so that only the part of those background pieces were showing through. And I like the way that turned out. So what I did last time was I randomly cut up my card bases to, most of them are about 4 by 3.5. Some are 3 by 3. They're different sizes, honestly, but I think the largest was probably, I think, 4 by 3.5. I wanted to try this. We're All Mad Here stencil, and I didn't have a big enough card for it. So I thought before I just randomly cut these down to size, I'm actually going to cut it down so that I can use this stencil on one of these sections. So let's see what size I'm going to need. I'm probably going to need about 5.5 by 5.5. And I don't mind if it goes over some. So I think that, let me see, which section do I want? I'm kind of liking this little corner up here, right here. So I want this section. So I think I'm going to do 5 by 5. It's going to hang off a little bit, but I'm okay with that. All right, so I cut that on my guillotine cutter. Let's see, this is how I want this. All right, I'm going to get some of this mint tape to kind of hold that in place. I'll hold it with my hands as well, but let's see, let me position this again. And honestly, I'm using black gesso, but you can use any color that you absolutely wanted. You could use a white paint, you can use a pigmented paint, whatever it is that you have in your stash that you would like to use. I wanted to just really knock out those colors in the background, and I didn't want to have to do several layers like I felt like I would have to if I used just regular black paint. And that's why I decided to use the black gesso, because it's just super opaque. So I don't want it to be too juicy. This is going to be a very large journal card, but that's okay. Sometimes we need large ones. But we're experimenting, we're playing around here. And if it doesn't work, just cover it up and keep going. No harm. The only thing I'm worried about here is I don't know if it's actually going to get these letters, if it's going to detail "We're all mad here," or if it's going to end up covering it up because those lines are too thin. So that's something you have to consider about stencils, whether or not the lines of the stencil are too thin, and then it's going to end up just kind of being a blob. All right, I think we're good. Moment of truth. Okay, you can still see it some. You can see it some. I'm going to set it aside and let it dry, and then I might be able to go in with a gel pen later and clean it up and really get some detail out of that. So let me set this aside to dry. And if I did not mention it before, I'll mention it now. You are still going to need your wipe, your wet wipes, and paper towels. And now I can't find my paper towel. Here it is. Here it is. Clean this off. I am nice and dirty. I'll throw that away since it has gesso on it. I don't want that to transfer anywhere before it has time to dry. My stencils that I used previously are back here in some warm soapy water soaking, along with the sponges that I used. And then let's continue. That was the little piece that I had left over from cutting out that 5 by 5. I'm going to cut out the rest of these. Those are 4 by 3. We don't have to do all journal cards. You can also do tags. These would make fantastic card fronts. A 4 by 4 and a 4 by 3. 3 by 3, 4 by 3. And same. All right. I forgot to mention a tool. Something I always use. You do want your corner rounder. Unless you don't, you can also keep these nice and square if you want. Keep those corners. I like to round mine off, and this paper is pretty thick. This mixed media paper is fairly thick. So I am going to round off some of my corners here. And I can keep doing that as we get along in the process. So I just got to remember to do that as we go. Okay. Let's see. Let's lay these out and then start looking at our ephemera. And let's see what we're going to do. I have some nice black and white stickers that I thought would look cute with some of these. There's also this guy that might look cute on that. I'm really liking this. They're just Alice legs. Isn't that funny? And I'm kind of figuring out like how would I do this? So if I wanted to use just these Alice legs, I guess they would be coming from the top, right? Like this. And then I could put something down here. We could stamp something there. Let's do that. I'm going to commit to that. So let me peel these off. I really like the look of the black and white on top of these colors. All right, I did put a little bit of the art glitter glue down on this so that it's really going to stick. Okay, when I say that I struggle removing the backing of stickers, I really struggle. If someone has a trick for easily and effectively removing the backs of stickers, I would appreciate it. I really have a hard time with it. Okay. I am going to trim up the top of this. And there are so many variations that you can do with this as far as how you continue to work these. You could even start your bases like the journal cards that I did at that class, and you could put papers down. You put papers down and collage over it and then do the painting process. You're going to cover all that up, but you're going to have a fantastic texture. So if that's the look that you're going for, no problem. I like this guy. And I think that he needs to be on something. Something with a lot of green. Maybe here. I'm really liking him. Now, this is chipboard though. So I am going to remove some of the layers of chipboard because I don't want it to be that thick. I'm going to peel off a few of these layers. Another good thing about having some of these nice larger images like this, if there's a spot on your base that you really don't like, then you can always cover it up. All right, now we've got a pretty thin layer. Which one did I decide? Was it this guy? I think so. All right. There we go. How cute. How cute. All right. And we still need to figure out something for the bottom of this, I think. Maybe go to my stamps. I'm looking for something maybe that just says Wonderland. I kind of like that right there. That looks good. It's not very big. Hopefully it shows up. Let's use the Misty. Sorry for all the glares. I've got shiny stuff out today, right? All right, Wonderland. Did we get it? There we go. How cute is that? Okay, I'm going to set both of those aside. Those are done. And let's keep going. I will clean my stamps off as we go. That I will do. While we've got the Misty out, let's take a look at something else that we can do. I mentioned that I like using the black and white. So let's go ahead and use these guys here and make a few cards. I like the Cheshire Cat. I like the little eyeballs here. All right, let's use both of those. I think that the Cheshire Cat I'm going to put on its own panel separately. So let's do that. And then I'm going to die cut that out. Didn't put my magnet down. Where is it? There it is. All right. This is just a basic in the corner, so it only matters if I have to stamp again. Okay. And hopefully we can get a nice, good impression the first time, and we did. Luck is on our side. I think I've got ink on these, so I am going to use my tweezers and move him. I think I ended up getting some ink from that on there. All right, let's also do the Alice. I love having a stamping platform. It makes this so much easier. But I'm a way back when crafter when all the stamps were on wood blocks. You had one chance. I do believe they had like those little tools that you could put, you know, to square it off, and you would stamp down and then you could, you know, put it back on, but I never used those. I don't even know what they're called. Got this little Cheshire Cat out, and I kind of want his little eyeballs on some stuff. Kind of like this. So let's see how he stamps. Let me move this back up so it's in focus. Let me go ahead and round my corners too. That way I've got him positioned just right. That will work. So it's nice to know that you can stamp directly on these, but you do need to make sure that you're using a nice permanent archival type ink. And this is just my favorite, the VersaFine. It's my go-to. It is my absolute favorite. We'll put one here. Especially if you have very detailed stamps, it just does a fantastic job. And I almost always get a good stamp the first time. Almost always. Okay, so let's put that one there. We'll do that. Good deal. I recently was doing some work on my actual channel. I added a description to my profile, and I updated my photo. So there's an actual picture of me. Picture was taken when I was in Tampa. work conference recently. My hair was behaving, so I thought, you know, maybe this is the one I should use. Let me die cut my Alice and my Cheshire Cat, and I will be right back. All right, here are my die cuts. Let's see, where do I want to put them? Cheshire Cat's a lot of pink. There. We'll go there. A lot of pink and purple. That's how Disney portrays him anyway. So let's put right there. And then Alice. Then we'll find something to put above her, which is fine. I don't do a lot of coloring. So I like having this little bit of smooch or the Wink of Stella, the little glitter brushes and things like that. Small things that I can add color. Just little pops. I'm gonna cry when I can no longer get this. It's got a little bit of a shimmer to it as well, so I'm gonna color the potion here in this bottle. Purple. Got a little pop of color. All right. Let's see what we've got. I am in various stages of progress here. I'm sorry. I bounce around a lot. That may irritate some of you. I bounce around quite a bit. Let's see. Drink me. Nothing's impossible. Put nothing's impossible. Laughter is life's best medicine. Let's do nothing's impossible. And I'll leave room. I'll make this a tag and I'll put something at the top there. We'll put some sort of fabric or something up there to make a little tab. Maybe a bit of lace or something. And perfect. There we go. Another one down. Let's set that aside. All right, let's do a few more of these. Okay, let's look at our Cheshire Cat. I'm going to leave him the way he is. I'm not going to do much to this because I think that he just speaks for himself. I'm going to go ahead and add right on the outsides here a bit of this smooch in kiwi, and it has a shimmer to it. So then his little cat eyes pop. You can see the shimmer. All right. I'm going to do the same with these little guys here. Now, it doesn't bother me, so I didn't do it, but I will tell you this. So while we're playing around in all that mixed media, the back of your pages will pick up some paint. so they'll be dirty. It doesn't bother me, so I don't ever put anything on the back of them. But if that bothers you, when they're still in one piece, you might put a backing on them after you have finished all your layers and they're dry. But before you cut them, you may want to go in and put a backing on them. So I did want to mention that. I did go ahead and stamp out a sentiment for this one. So I'm going to cut it. I was using my massive scissors there. All right, let's go ahead and put this on. Where you want to be. Don't want to get that quite in his eyeball. Where you want to be depends on which way you go. How cute is that? Okay, I'm gonna get this glued down. Look at that. Isn't that adorable? And you can see that little bit of shimmer from the eyeballs there. I'm going to take my white gel pen. I'm going to see if I can add these little highlights here in his eyes. That'll make it stand out even more. There we go. See that? So cute. So I am going to set that aside. That's another one down. And let's see. Let's do at least one more, right, where we stamp directly on to the image. I like this guy. Let me find him. There is a bunny rabbit in here that I absolutely love. And it says wanted. I don't even know where I got it. Probably Amazon, I think, because I think I picked it up. Where is he? Here he is. I believe that this says Easter Bunny Wanted in German, but I don't know for sure. So that's just what Google told me, and I don't know that I necessarily trust it, so I'm going to leave that part off just in case it's something inappropriate, which I don't believe that it is. I really believe it probably does say that, but plus this is going to be the white rabbit and not the Easter Bunny, so we don't need that on there anyway. I want him on here. What are we going to do? That looks good. We'll use Greetings from Wonderland. How about that? We'll use that on the top. I don't have much to hold this guy down with. Hopefully that does it. All right, let's move this into view. Sorry. I'm already running out of space. Okay, there's my ink. All right. How do you turn out? Everything but the ears. Perfect. Still a little wet. I'll go ahead and round those corners so that I don't forget. And set them aside to dry. All right, let's see what else we have got to play with. Maybe we can do something else. You know what we haven't done anything with? One of these guys. So let's see what we've got over here. Kind of thinking like poison. I think I'm just going to put these 2 bottles on there. Get a bit of glue. I mean, sometimes less is more. I know that this is a large card and we could actually fill it up, put a lot of stuff on there. But honestly, I think that I like that the stencil is showing through, that detail is coming through, and you can really see a good part of that. So I think that that's actually enough. I think it's funny that this says eat me, even though it's drink me. I'm sure it was probably a typo because it was probably a Chinese company where I got these. I don't know. All right. Let me set that one aside. All right, let's take a look at this. This is dry now. The amount of time it took to find this. Seriously. Now let's see if I can get this lined up again. All right, now let's see if this works. I was thinking that I might be able to sharpen the edges of this with my Jelly Roll pencil or pen. Let's try the white. I do need to move it just a little bit. There we go. Not doing exact lines. I'm kind of just filling in here and there. And we'll see. It's an experiment. We'll see how it works. My black, I need a new black jelly pen. It wasn't working. So had it been working, I probably would have used the black one, but the white might work better for this. I don't know. We're about to find out, right? All right. Moment of truth, right? Oh, look, that's not bad. And that really kind of stands out, doesn't it? I like it. I like it a lot, actually. So that worked. Now let's round these corners. Okay. Final step to all these, and this is obviously optional, but I do like the look of it, so I am going to do it. I like to use some black gesso to ink up the edges. I'm going to use my finger because it's already dirty anyway. And I am going to ink these up. And again, I like using the gesso because it's just going to be nice and opaque. But I think by doing this, it really just makes everything inside pop. Creates a nice border, and then everything inside really stands out. And I'll have to put these places where they can actually sit up and dry. my two larger ones first. You want to make sure you're doing it kind of along the top part and not the edge, because you don't want a paper cut if you decide to do what I'm doing here and use your finger. You do not want a paper cut. Some of it I do pretty heavy and some of it I do kind of thin, because I like the contrast of the different lines. So I've done this one previously and it's dry now. So the edges of that are dry, but take a look at the difference. So one with the black outline and then one without. And I really think that the black outline adds something to it. I really try to only get the gesso on one finger so I can use the other hand to turn it. And then I'm not, you know, getting ink everywhere or getting the gesso everywhere. I think this might still be a little bit wet, this stamping card, so I can still see the stamp shining a little bit, the ink on it. Be careful. See, I did get some on my finger. Make sure I pull that off so I don't transfer it to somewhere else. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. And this by all means does not need to be the last step. You can, you know, go in and do more highlighting and scribbling with your pens, your gel pens, you know, all over the place. There are no rules. And that's one of the things that I love about mixed media. It gives you the freedom to experiment. I really like this. I think this is cute. This might be one of my favorites. There we go. Nice lines. All right, last one. Last but not least, holding these up close, you guys can get a nice, good look. Look at all that detail in the background. It's a lot of fun. All right. There we go. Let me wipe off my finger. Okay, so that is it. That wraps up part 2, and the journal cards are done. At this point, I'm calling all of these done. I have a few more to the side that I did previously. And then I have just a lot of extra panels that I can do stuff with as I move along through my journals and see what I need as I start working on those and actually filling up pages and pockets and tucks and everything. I can see what else I need and then start making additional cards with those bases that I've got on hand. That is definitely helpful to have so many bases, journal bases to actually pull from. That'll be really, really helpful along the way. So that is it for part 2. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comment section. If you have any thoughts, please share those as well. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel. I really do appreciate everyone who has subscribed, everyone who views and shares and does all the things. My channel has really been growing, and I do appreciate it. Until next time, bye.